What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Bitchuation Room. Hi. So good to have you here with me, live in the future. Do we make it? Does an earthquake strike LA? Because I feel like it's working its way up. There's like all these. Anyway, that's just me being weird and pregnant and like thinking everything's out to get me. Anyway, hi. I'm your host, Francesca Fiorentini. My God, we have a great show today. Comedian Roy Wood Jr. is here, and we are going to talk about, just the Republican migrant stunts. Is it working? Are we wooed? Do we finally think that there's an immigration crisis in this country? I don't know, 11 million undocumented people who've been just like languishing in the immigration system. But now this has really opened my eyes. Also, I get the Fox News treatment. That's going to be fun. And we're going to look at midterms. And Tom Bonier of TargetSmart is going to be joining us. He's going to explain what he's seeing in terms of trends, turnout, registration, young people, people with uteruses, people without uteruses. What's going on? And I am excited for his predictions, as well as we're bringing back the Cringeys. Yes, it's been quite a week for cringe clips. It's pretty endless. Just another day in this country. So I'm going to get Roy on to assess who deserves the cringy for this week. And then, of course, a bonus episode. We are going to be talking about the new law going into effect in Illinois come 2023, which is essentially a police and prison reform law. But of course, the right is freaking out, and they're calling it a purge law, which I feel like is more them telling all their followers to go grab guns and like kill people in Illinois than it is anything else, because it's certainly not based in reality. So I want to break that down. If we're lucky, Roy will stay. If not, you know what I'm saying? I'm just happy to have him here. Excited to have you all here. If you wouldn't mind liking and sharing the stream right now. If you wouldn't mind subscribing. If you wouldn't mind giving the show 5 stars on iTunes. And of course, if you want that bonus content, patreon.com/bitchuationroom. You get access to not just this bonus episode, but a backlog of episodes, plus actually the first little like hints of life from me during my maternity leave. I'm going to be doing the rundown every week, like the sort of weekly news rundown. So that'll be fun, and you will be supporting me and my family. That's exactly what you'll be doing. So become a patron. Thank you so much in advance for your support. Patreon.com/bitchuationroom. And with that, guys, tuck in, hold tight, pet your adorable dog or cat, and let's get into this week. This is What Are You Bitching About? Okay, so on recently I'm like, I don't know when you're watching this or listening to this, but recently I was on MSNBC on Ayman Mohadin's weekend show, like 9 p.m. on a Sunday, which I know very well. Nobody watches that time slot. Very few people are watching. That's when my MSNBC special aired in the dead of winter, right between Christmas and New Year's, you know, when no one wants to watch the news. Anyway, but so I was on, and it was fun. And today I got an alert on my name because, yes, I am that narcissist. Don't we all? Usually it's random TYT stuff, maybe a comedy show. But this time it was Fox News who had picked up something I had said on the MSNBC show and then made a whole article about it. And I will ask you all to tell me what is going on here, because I don't quite understand why Fox is picking up on what I said and picking up on me specifically, because it doesn't appear like they're dunking on me. It doesn't appear like they're using me to hit the left or to hit Democrats, because I said, you know, here you'll hear what I said about both Democrats and Republicans. It kind of feels like they're just like, they just like me. I think they're just boosting me. I think I got a friend on the inside over at the old, you know, Murdoch tool shed over there. I don't know. But here was the headline. They go, MSNBC guest says, quote, only two options for immigration, letting people into this country or letting them die. Which people have pointed out to me, Fox News viewers are like, let them die, let them die. And then it says comedian Francesca Fiorentini, which thanks, suggesting that cruelty on the border has been a, quote, bipartisan consensus. And then they just link to the video and they throw some music over it to avoid copyright. So here is some of what I said. You tell me why they're uplifting my words when I'm clearly calling them out as well, and making some pretty good points. But the reality is that cruelty on the border has been a bipartisan consensus, sadly. And Democrats have been dragged to the right by Republicans, further militarizing the border, giving CBP even more money. This is one of the largest federal agency that is insanely militarized, right? Has crazy jurisdiction. And so I'm looking for vision from Democrats on actually not just humanizing migrants, which is just the lowest bar, right? But truly, how can we be better than the narco gangs that these folks are running from? These are allegedly people on, you know, who have been, in quotes, suffering under socialism in Venezuela. So who knows, right? I'm not sure. I also think it's important to bring up the fact in terms of skin color and the fact that only a few months ago you had Haitian migrants being chased on horseback. And yet Ukrainian migrants, refugees, have been welcomed into this country, which they should be. And the answer is this: it's either death or accepting folks into this country. There's only two options here. And I'm going to go with letting people into this country instead of letting them die. Always. Then they have that music that, you know, like airlines play when you're deplaning, you know, like don't go. It's always that. And you're like, why hasn't this changed? So that was me, and that was Fox News lifting what I had to say up. I'm pretty sure I threw Republicans under the bus as well. But I stand by what I said. I don't feel like they lifted me up for some weird reason. I didn't say Pelosi a single time. I don't even think I said Joe Biden. So thank you. I believe her name is Alexandra, who found that. Throwing it around Fox News. Maybe some people will stumble upon it and agree. But again, it might be a lot like, yes, they deserve to die. You know, that kind of thing. Except not that quote. Anyway, Fox News, aim better. I almost went on Fox and Friends a few years ago, but I was working at AJ Plus and they didn't really want me to go on. It was a shame. I was planning on giving myself a so-called abortion, like just like down abortion pills live on air. And I think that would have been fun. But yeah, I guess shout out to Fox, dude. Thanks for helping me prove my point and amplify it. Anyway, with that, very excited to bring in for the rest of the show He's a Daily Show correspondent. He hosts his own podcast called Roy's Job Fair and Beyond the Scenes, and he's got a new hour-long special coming out this year, I believe on Paramount Plus, but he will confirm. Please welcome comedian Roy Wood Jr.
Well, hello.
Well, hi.
How you doing?
So good. Thank you so much for joining me.
I'm happy to be here. The special came out. It's Confess Fletch, out now with John Hamm. Where's my water? Theaters and on demand.
That's a film,
Yes,
though,
indeed.
correct?
Yeah, it's a film. You know, I guess that's technically a special. It's just a special with a bunch of other people included in it. That's all.
We got an old bio, and I will immediately.
That's not your fault. That's on the people I'm going to fire as soon as we get off this live
There you
stream.
go.
I feel like I didn't put enough effort into my neon light situation.
No, I know. Exactly.
You know, I got to try harder. I got the one. I just have one. Just to light up.
I can't even tell.
3 baseballs that no one cares about, because this isn't even a sports show.
I'm basically inside of an aquarium. It's like it's like a lava lamp. Like I'm inside a bachelor's like attempt to get pussy right now. Like it's just bloop, 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 like in the 80s.
Type of set design where I trust your views on politics and or crypto. So it's good. It's a multifaceted.
Thank you. Do not invest. Get out now. Just ask Seth Green. Roy, we start off this show on just such a bright note, which is, what are you bitching about today? It's a random Tuesday. What's going on in your world? What are you bitching about?
It's nothing really political, but it's just I'm more of a customer service griper more than anything.
So you're a Karen?
No, I don't gripe to the management, the customers. I pretend I'm having fun, and then I go home to my camera, and then I complain there.
What happened?
I don't know when Foot Locker turned into the club, but I don't like it. Or maybe I'm 43. My child, I have a 6-year-old. I went to buy him shoes, attempted to go and buy him shoes, and I'm gonna just say it, the music was too loud. The music was too loud. Like, when did you go in a sneaker store now, and it's like, do I want to do drugs? I feel like I should do drugs right now. I'm like, I'm just here for kids' shoes, dog.
There's just people making out in the corner.
There should be like
someone spills a drink on you by accident. Just anyway.
If you're gonna have music that loud in a retail experience, we should move to silent DJs and put headphones by the door. And as you walk in, decide whether or not you want to hear music or not. Listen, I'm not anti-DJ. I know DJs need jobs, so I know getting hired to DJ a Foot Locker on a Saturday afternoon is sweet cash. But
there was an actual DJ.
This time it was. Usually it's just some streaming Spotify type stuff, but on this particular day there was a DJ.
Now let me ask you: did your 6-year-old clock that, or did he just incorporate it into like his world? Like, was he like,
in his world, music? This is normal. He has nothing. He doesn't have the whole 90s to compare this to. Like, to him, this is normal. Getting off the airplane, music is normal. That's another one. I don't need that. If anything, you should be playing that peaceful spa music while people get on the plane so they stop punching each other in the face mid-flight.
Yeah, no, it's true. Our children will never know quiet.
Never. They'll never know.
When I was young, there was silence occasionally. I agree. That's a whole strategy to basically apparently get you to just like in a fervor buy more or like make a quick decision and get the hell out.
Well, some comedy clubs would do that. I learned that trick early on when I started doing stand-up. On a first show, 2-show night, when the show ends, you crank the music excruciatingly loud.
Right,
and
it
helps, and it clears the showroom.
Right.
It just, people get the fuck out a lot. I don't know if I can curse.
Equivalent of putting like pigeon, like the little spikes outside of, I guess they do that to also prevent unhoused people from sleeping. But yeah, It's
Oh
the
yeah,
worst music too.
shout out to LAX redesigning their Delta baggage terminal with all angled spots underneath windows to make it uncomfortable for anyone to ever think about lying down.
Which you were.
Yeah, well, I tried to, but it was like some weird origami ass angle, and like it didn't work out for me.
They're like, no, you're gonna wait for your bags and you're gonna enjoy it on your
Yeah,
feet.
yeah,
Well, that's a good one. I totally fucking agree. I mean, I think it's beautiful to be able to actually shop in person after so long, but no, I don't need any
yeah.
music.
I still want my boy to know the retail experience. So if we need something, we go out to it. Of course, there's some stuff we order, but if it's in a store, let's go and buy it. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna order crayons from Amazon. We're gonna go to Office Depot, and you're gonna get the experience of looking at all the different packs and the tactile. Like that to me, that matters.
Yeah.
Those are the memories I'm creating with my child.
Especially since Toys R Us. Bye. Long time.
Yeah, the best
Bye.
he gets, and especially in the heart of New York, the best your kid can hope for in terms of just lusting over toys is that one half-assed aisle at CVS that's next to all the beachwear. Is that
Uh-huh.
that one aisle? It's kind of a toy aisle, and then there's swimming trunks, and then a power drill. It's like what the fuck is this aisle? It's just
And then
like
all the shit that they sell on like Sky Mall, or like as seen on TV or
yes,
whatever, and you're like, why
yes,
is
the
that?
motorized tie rack with a sandwich warmer or something.
All right, Roy, that's a good thing to
Mhm.
bitch about. Peace and goddamn quiet totally doesn't aid you at all. Let's
Just
get
want quiet.
into let's get into what happened this week. I'm gonna read just some things I picked out. Queen Elizabeth, her body was laid to
Okay.
rest at St. George's Chapel, and her corgis and horse were trotted out to watch the royal funeral procession, making it quite literally a dog and pony show. Puerto Rico has been left without power as Hurricane Fiona bears down in the Caribbean. Thank God they didn't pick Francesca because they had an F choice, and I just thank you. At this point, honestly, though, if we truly want to help Puerto Rico beyond decolonizing, reparations, we should power their grid with whatever is powering Dick Cheney's heart. That shit is like a Roomba for war
Won't
criminals.
give up.
It's unstoppable.
No quitting
Um,
it.
just throw him over on the island. The Justice Department is asking the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals to let it continue to review documents seized from Mar-a-Lago after a Trump-appointed judge ordered them to stop investigating Trump until a special master could review them, right? So back and forth. The
Yeah.
problem is that appeals court also has 6 Trump-appointed judges on it. We're basically in this like legal funhouse of Trump judges, and none of them have ever tried a case in court, and all of them have been to Epstein's pedo island. At an
I
mm,
that's where you just have to like sit back for a second and like wonder, was Trump as dumb as we thought he was? Or did he brilliantly also cover his tracks to make sure that even after you find out what he was doing or is currently still doing, that you can't even prosecute him for it because all my boys in there and they the ones sitting on the bench, and it's a lifetime appointment, you bitch, and they healthy. They ain't finna die no time soon.
totally. Like I do
Uh,
not doubt there's like a 17-year-old on that bench. Like they are young.
yeah.
They are radicalized. No, it definitely makes me think like, did he create this like Rube Goldberg machine on his way out of the White House? And the mouse is eating the cheese, and the balloon is popping. The whole thing is working out.
Bowling ball rolls down. Yeah.
And then I don't know, Pee Wee gets his breakfast or whatever. That's all I know
Yeah.
about that. At an Ohio rally, while a QAnon anthem played under his speech, Trump supporters raised one finger into the air, either in an homage to Freddie Mercury or the QAnon slogan where "We go one, we go all." Supporters say no, it's neither of those things. They were just doing a Zig Heil. Former
Wow. Careful.
NFL star Brett Favre funneled $5 million from Mississippi's welfare fund into a building that is building a new volleyball stadium for his daughter at the University of Southern Mississippi, proving once again white people are the primary beneficiaries of welfare. Matt Gaetz apparently did seek a pardon from outgoing President Trump for paying a 17-year-old and crossing state lines with her for sex, which is a total relief for those of us who thought that teens were sleeping with him for free. And Adnan Syed is free himself after 23 years behind bars. A white lady with a podcast freed a wrongfully convicted man of color, which means if you're a white woman with an NPR tote bag who posted a black square on Instagram during the 2020 George Floyd uprisings, you have also been absolved. This is
You
it.
did it.
Like, you fucking did it.
You subscribed and shared, and it helped.
We'll say not a word.
Yeah.
And finally, Joe Biden says the pandemic is over, and he's taking a lot of heat for it. But look, we all know midterms are coming, and so is winter. So I say this is just a tried and true strategy for killing Republicans. Like Dark Brandon is rising, y'all. He's like, yeah, it's over. It's all good. Go outside.
Is it though? Because it's not like Republicans were inside respecting the mandates and the ordinances. Like I went to Florida in the middle of the shit. They were outside. They were already.
I'm trying to spin this somehow, but really, I don't know what the fuck this guy is doing. I don't know. Just get your boosters, y'all. Everyone get that Omicron booster. For everything else,
capitalism won. Why won't people just admit that? Capitalism won. And sometimes some of y'all got to die so we can get this money. My bad.
The Foot Locker DJ knows capitalism won. He turned that shit up just a little bit more the day that Biden said it was over.
Take that plexiglass down. We can't see the strippers through the plexiglass. The pandemic's over. I'm sorry.
There's
that's
plexiglass in strip clubs?
No. Like if it's one place some of the strippers were wearing masks, so I was told, like during the peak of it all. You know.
I like that. I love that. All right, for everything else, this is the week where. Okay, so I'm sure you've talked about this a little bit, but we're learning about Governor Ron DeSantis and Greg Abbott's stunts involving busing and flying migrants from their states to Martha's Vineyard in Massachusetts and Kamala Harris's home in D.C. So we're talking 48 migrants from Venezuela who were flown. And this is weird, right? It's like DeSantis flying migrants from a state he's not in. So he's flying migrants from San Antonio, Texas to Martha's Vineyard. And now a sheriff in Texas is opening an investigation into the people involved in luring those migrants onto planes, including apparently a blonde woman named Perla, who I like. I'm like, who is this woman? But let's look into what the fuck has been happening. So how did he get the money for it? Well, DeSantis spent $615,000 out of the state budget to charter 2 jets to fly the refugees. The money came from a $12 million program approved by the legislature using federal COVID funds. There you go.
Oh,
There's
Ronnie.
Ronnie. All kinds of problems, obviously, including the fact that, like, he's cooking the books in his home state around COVID. The Republicans are like keeping Title 42 in a place so they can keep rejecting asylum seekers because of COVID, apparently, but they don't believe in it, but they do. Anyway. So when they got there to Martha's Vineyard, immigration lawyers stepped up. And 2 days after they arrived, they were bused to Joint Base Cape Cod on the mainland. Lawyers worked with federal officials to make sure they'd get where they needed to go without harming their status. Boston immigration lawyer Rachel Self told CBS News. Self also said that some refugees reported they were met by Homeland Security agents before boarding the jets who gave them false addresses and wrong information about which agency to contact to get their addresses changed. They were also told that jobs and housing would be waiting for them when they arrived. Now, I thought that was kind of crazy. I was like, damn, DHS is involved? What the fuck?
I mean, do we know for sure, or was it just somebody just pretending to be or whatever? Because it seems to be a lot of
cardboard cutout sheriff's little badge.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, and if you're not from here, how do you know what's the official uniform and badge texture? You know, like You
Totally.
don't know. So you're just trying not to get deported. So I'm just going to roll with this fluent speaking English person who said, get on the plane.
Totally. And DHS says, I mean, I thought that was crazy, but they say, you know, they're like, neither its agents nor immigration or customs enforcement and border patrol have helped DeSantis. They say they have no idea what's going on. And like, I know what you're saying, Roy, that like, like obviously immigrants who don't know these different agencies, like they're not going to necessarily know. But I definitely don't believe DHS. Like I'm like, I don't trust. And
Oh, no.
like I'm sure the head didn't know what was going on, but I totally these
Oh, yeah, they
there's some
don't. They're not gonna go. Yep, we did it. Like they're
yeah.
not a chance in the world.
Right. And there's some the craziest motherfuckers. Like, we think the people who join police forces are just kind of, I mean, not always, but it's always like, oh, yeah, that guy. Yeah, he's a cop. That makes sense. People who join Customs and Border Patrol, man, it's like they like the cruelty. It is extra cruel. It is policing with a side of more cruelty if you needed that. So I don't know. I don't know who to believe, but apparently we'll get to the bottom of it, even though, you know, according to the White House and the Justice Department, they're not saying if they're going to investigate allegations of trafficking, kidnapping. You got that one Texas sheriff who is, but let's look at what happened. So what were they told? So this is from, popular information. Judd Legum, he says that the migrants told reporters they were misled about the nature of the flights. Several migrants told NPR they were told the flight was going to Boston, not Martha's Vineyard. According to the migrants, a woman who identified herself as Perla also said that if they traveled to Boston, they could receive expedited work papers. That's a good reason to go.
Of course.
And apparently they were given these, and please let's comment on the quality of these brochures. These were brochures that Perla was handing out that to me look like my mom printed them on her home printer after like I gave her tech support for half an hour, because that's usually what I talk to her about. And so, and they're like, Massachusetts welcomes you, beneficios para refugiados. And then
These brochures are printed in that same font as that used condom pamphlet that's at the clinic. I know that's a very specific analogy, but
there's
the
a
people who
used
know,
condom.
they know. Yeah, you know, you go to like the clinic for like your eyes. There's like that little brochure wall, and it
Right.
says condoms and your menstrual cycle and
Yes.
then tuberculosis and you. And then there's the one that just says use condoms, but and it's all the same font. You know, the
My
chat knows what I'm talking about. Fuck
Hell
y'all.
yeah. My favorite brochure is the one that's like, so you're pregnant, don't drink. And it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, motherfucker, I know I'm not supposed to drink.
Yeah, this is a very Courier New with 1.5 spacing between each letter type situation here.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. There's so in this case, in that analogy, this would be like, hey, you know that broken condom? Use it. Hell, put it on. When it breaks, it means it worked.
Yeah, that's why I didn't know they had I didn't know they were at FedEx office making duped up brochures to help really sell this. But I guess that makes perfect sense, because the more legitimate it looks, the easier it is to get people on the plane.
Exactly. And if you're promised expedited papers, I mean, that's essentially the golden ticket. So apparently it said migrants would be given 8 months cash assistance. Done. I'm there. Assistance with housing. Cool. Food, clothing, transportation to job interviews, job training, job placement, registering for children for school, assistance applying for social security cards, and many other benefits, which is kind of ironic because it's all the shit that Republicans claim Democrats are just handing out to undocumented people. But it all honestly sounds good. Like everyone should get that, not just undocumented people. This would be tight. But anywho, yeah.
I just hope that the cities that are stepping up, I mean, this is kind of it's a separate issue, but it kind of No, it's not really a separate issue. I just hope that the cities that are stepping up and helping these migrants, once this crisis has been solved for these particular parties, that
Mm-hmm.
these cities continue to have the same benevolence for the unhoused that are also there in their streets.
Totally.
And that's the thing where it gets a little like, all right, clearly you're good. So can you continue to help other people in a fucked up situation as well? Or were you just doing this because the Republicans are trying to embarrass you and you tried to throw boomerang back the embarrassment? So, I just want to, I really hope that this benevolence that these cities are displaying isn't, ultimately performative in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're referring to the fact that a lot of Martha's Vineyard residents came out, gave hugs, helped folks like actually get back because some of them had like, hearings they had to be at. And it's funny because the Fox News line, is like, aha, look at them, how they just, you know, they wanted them to get the hell out of there. And you're like, no, it's not actually really what happened. But I think, and I saw this one meme of like the Homer disappearing into the bushes where it's like, a liberal holding a like one of those signs, in this house we believe, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then as soon as like migrants come in, it's like a no trespassing. And you're like,
Yeah.
that would be funny because that's on point, except when it comes to the unhoused is where liberals if you really want to like get them, you're exactly right. Like it's around unhoused people and like the
Well,
fact that a lot of folks in wealthier neighborhoods, not that like there are that many unhoused people in Martha's Vineyard generally.
y-
It's a
but
small island.
but I'm not this for me. The point isn't isolated to the vineyard. I mean, I'm talking about Chicago, New York specifically.
Right.
They scoop up unhoused, put them on a bus, and drop them off 2 counties away, and be like, "Good luck."
Yeah,
All right, all right.
exactly.
Same dick move. There was just no plane involved. So just as you continue to care about the immigrants, I hope that love and benevolence, trickles on to other people that are in your community
Absolutely.
and have been for a long time.
Absolutely. No, exactly. Exactly. Um, and I wanted to point out, the funny angle on this whole story is who's taking credit for it. Well, actually, before we go to that, I just want to say this shit's not stopping. So Greg Abbott did his own like 100 migrants to Kamala Harris's house in DC. 50 more were just sent over the weekend. DeSantis today, this is Tuesday the 20th, he's flying immigrants from San Antonio now to Biden's home in Delaware. So they're like, they think it's great, right? They're like, oh, we're crushing it. But the real question is, whose idea was it? So Trump is going around mad as hell saying DeSantis stole my plan for shipping migrants.
That is
And
such a great argument. You stole my shit. That was my idea.
just like imagine the things in history. If you're like, like the gas chambers, my idea.
Yeah.
I'll never get credit for it, but Adolf and I totally had a drink the night before. Like, I don't actually think that was Adolf's idea, but you know what I'm saying? Just like imagine looking at this cruelty and being like, that was my idea. And in fact, that shit wasn't his idea. It was Tucker Carlson's idea back in July. I'm not going to subject everybody to that clip, but Tucker
Visionary.
Carlson is basically like, what we should do? We should, he doesn't have glasses, but whatever. We should ship all these migrants into Martha's Vineyard. And so that's essentially where Greg Abbott and DeSantis got that idea. But of course, Trump is salty about it because he wants the credit for the cruelty, no matter where it lies.
Of course.
Anywho, let's move on to our second story. I enjoyed this. This is just breaking because, you know how we're like understanding more about this alternate slate of electors, kind of like, which is very funny that the Trump administration began with alternative facts and ended with alternate electors, alternative electors. So this was the week we got even more footage from Georgia. This is that fake electors dream team of Karens and Kevins put together by Trump lawyer and Yeti who shops at Talbot's, Cindy Powell, or Sydney Powell, excuse me. Specifically, we get footage of Kathy Latham, who is a former GOP chairwoman of that county, Coffee County, who we saw last week. There was footage of her escorting all these Trump operatives into the election office. And she's like, did y'all finish with the printer? Like, that's one thing she asked. She's like, you guys done? And then this week, we have this footage from CNN about what they were doing inside that election office.
CNN has obtained new surveillance video from inside of the Coffee County, Georgia elections office. And what it shows is Republican operatives spending hours inside of a restricted area there, along with an attorney for former President Trump.
An attorney for former President Trump inside a restricted area with what appear to be votes. This all happened January 7th, 2021. That's one day after the Capitol insurrection.
The newly obtained surveillance video shows a Republican county official and a team of operatives working for Trump attorney Sidney Powell inside a restricted area of the local elections office in Coffee County, Georgia. Among those seen, Kathy Latham, a former GOP chairwoman of Coffee County, who is under criminal investigation for posing as a fake elector in 2020. Latham previously claimed she was not personally involved in the breach, but the video appears to undercut that claim, showing her inside as a team of Republican operatives work on computers near election equipment and proceed to access voting data. Scott Hall, an Atlanta bail bondsman and Fulton County Republican poll watcher, is one of the people who spent hours inside the restricted area, and in audio obtained by CNN, Hall later described what he did.
I'm the guy that chartered the jet to go down to Coffee County to have them inspect all of those computers, and I've heard zero. Okay? I went down there, we scanned every freaking ballot.
According to attorney Ms. Latham, did not act improperly or illegally. Of course, Poppy and Jim, this is just one of many breaches across the country that are right now being investigated, all with connections back to this effort to try to keep Donald Trump in office after he lost the election.
Okay, if you didn't see the video,
Wow.
there's a couple things that stand out. Number one, there's a cute little Labrador dog just in the middle of the whole thing. And I don't know. He seems like, I don't know, we should like either
No.
absolve him or he's a mastermind. One
No.
of the two.
Fuck that dog too. You can't. Everybody in the room, all y'all got to go to do. I don't know. This is not a dog jail, but I don't know. Send them to a PetSmart. Make them stay in that back part of PetSmart where they do the grooming. That's like a county jail. Like dogs understand all that human shit and all them human command. That's what people love to say. The dog looked in my eyes and he knew exactly. Then you knew they was cheating and shit. Fuck that dog. Respectfully. I'm not saying fuck animals. I'm just saying fuck that dog.
That one particular dog.
That particular dog can kiss my ass. Now you see where he was going in the later footage because the dog knew the shit was finished.
It's like the
Probably
same dog in the background of every Beto O'Rourke Vanity Fair shot a few years ago. Beto has redeemed himself since, but his little dog in the background, like, oh gosh.
Let me ask you a broader question.
Yeah.
When are Democrats gonna start cheating too?
I love that that's the takeaway. I think no. Honestly.
I know we live in a society where we're supposed to do the high road. When they go low, we go high, and moral. Sometimes you got to steal it, then create the nice moral house that you want to build around it. But this type of stuff continues to happen in smaller counties, and if it's not this, then it's gerrymandering, then it's voter suppression, or you take people off the rolls. Like there's so many different ways to create, little pockets of fuckery in these smaller counties that they make you think that don't matter, but they actually do, because these are also the counties that elect the officials, that appoint all of the judges, that do all of the fuck shit at the state level. So I don't know. I just wish just once Democrats would cheat, bro. I just wish they would just
Yeah, I mean, over here in California, we had Republicans setting up just fake drop boxes. They just printed out a like, drop your ballot here. Again, same exact FedEx that they probably use for those other things. And I'm like, this is so bad, but at the same time, A for effort, and at least you tried. And this whole time.
If I were the Democrats, I would be hiring fucking Nathan Fielder to run the most elaborate voting poll scam. I would meet Herschel Walker, but it's Kenan Thompson in an afro wig, like whatever you could. Honestly, the actual real Herschel Walker would show up to that event thinking it's a real event.
He's like, my name's on it, so I'm gonna be there.
I don't know. This one.
First of all, Nathan Fielder makes this look really, really bootleg, and Kathy Latham. By the way, if you're not watching the whole video, she's just, I think, playing like. Maybe this is a throwback, but Candy Crush on her phone. She's just there in the corner, like, y'all done yet? And then the dude, Scott Hall, he's just like, I'm the guy who sent everyone to Coffee County. I'm the guy. And I think he's like, and we found nothing, which is so funny because imagine, Roy. So what that makes me think is you went through all this effort to do this crime after, this is January 7th, by the way, not that we haven't seen the extent of Trumpism. You went all that way. You go into where the ballots are being held. You're looking through them. You're scanning them, and you don't plant shit. You just like, nope, there's no fraud. I'm glad we did this because I don't see no fraud. Like, what? Well, finish the job.
No,
plant your evidence.
The odds were already in our favor, so let's just stop. We're done. We're good.
So stupid.
Yeah, I think what you have to do, this is one of those crimes that has to be legislated away. So you got to start throwing 5-15 years at people. But the problem is that if you start trying to do that, then you run into, the similar situations like the sister in, I think it was Texas, where she accidentally voted at the wrong poll, or like there was a weird snafu with her voter registration and they gave her 5 years in prison. I think it was like a mail vote ballot. The chat will help us out with the facts. But like my point is, if you try to legislate the fraud aspect of it, then Republicans are going to counter and try to legislate and criminalize the actual voting aspect of it. Then put in 15 different ways that you could actually accidentally vote incorrectly.
Which they're already doing.
Correct.
Right, it's like you're going to have to vote like soup Nazi style. But yeah, no, what's funny about Georgia specifically, it's not funny. It's just like, everyone's like, oh, Brad Raffensperger, he stood up to Donald Trump and all these, it's like, no, all these fools just use the non-existence of fraud to then pass even more voter suppression laws. So that in the midterms, and we're going to bring in Tom right now, midterms are awash with this kind of suppression tactics. And like, of course, like, all the things that happened under the pandemic, whether it was mail-in or whether it was, Dropbox stuff, all that's been, especially in red states, like taken away. Voting hours are like, worse than library hours, or your favorite, I'm just thinking of a taco spot that is not open.
Yeah, voting is like that some boutique shithole in New York that sells some pastry that a bunch of rich people have praised, and you have to wait all day for it, and then you still might not.
It's not that good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's bring in to talk more about the midterms. Mr. Tom Bonier. He is a Democratic political strategist, CEO of TargetSmart, a data and polling firm. Tom, how you doing?
I'm good.
This is Roy. This is Francesca.
It's good to see y'all.
You already know which one of us has important shit to say. I have 3 baseballs on my background. Books and electorate maps back. Look at that shit.
I've got a baseball back here too. It's autographed by someone, and I can't for the life of me remember who. So I keep it hidden.
What? It's like someone and you look at it, and it's like, yeah, Babe Ruth and Joe DiMaggio. This is the one where they hit 5 homers together.
Who?
It's in bad shape anyhow.
Tom, we were just talking a little bit about like the voter suppression stuff, and like new laws. I guess I maybe let's pick up from there. Like, what do you make of 2020, like massive voter turnout, helped by rightfully a lot of the things that were implemented in, under COVID, which was like, you could vote early, you could vote by, dropping off your ballot at a drop box. Other people can send in your ballot for you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All the stuff that like continues in states, blue states, but not so much in red states. How do you think that's impacting, or what have you seen that impacting the midterm elections?
Well, y'all were just talking about Texas a minute ago, and Texas is a great example of that, because Texas during the pandemic actually made it really easy for people to vote. You saw like what the Democratic clerk in Houston did, doing drive-through voting. You could pull up in a tent. And then what happened is, when people saw how many people voted in Texas, which was more people than have ever voted in Texas, and how many Democrats came out, and they were thinking about what's on the ballot this year, the governor's race, especially, no state rolled back voting access more than Texas. Now, there was a story just the other day about the biggest college campus in Texas, one of the biggest college campuses in the country. They used to have one early voting location on the campus for tens of thousands of kids who would go to vote for the whole early voting period. The students there were pushing to add another one. So what did Texas do? They got rid of the first one. There's no early voting location on the entire campus. So these sorts of things aren't just happening in Texas. Some states have done the right thing, and those tend to be states or counties that are run by Democrats and have left those options in place to make it easier for people to vote. But a lot of states have made it harder. And when we think about a lot of these key states, y'all have been talking about Georgia a lot, and voter suppression is alive and well in Georgia, unfortunately.
Tom, do you think, when we look at the razor thin margins, in terms of the House and the Senate in 2020, what do you predict the efficacy to be of these voter suppression efforts going into midterms? Like, how fucked are we, Tom? I'm trying to be all professional.
That's the question I ask myself every
North
morning.
Carolina did some serious rejiggering of their districts.
Yep.
And Florida too.
Yeah.
Which,
I mean, the fact is that this year was, quote, supposed to be a red wave election year for Republicans, because it's a midterm election, because the party that's not in the White House usually wins by a really wide margin. And then you add on top of that gerrymandering that Roy mentioned, which, a lot of people say, well, it wasn't as bad as we thought it would be. Well, what we thought it would be is not the best metric that we should be judging things against these days. Voter suppression has gotten worse in many places. And so you have all those factors. And on the other hand, you have that, look, the Republican Party is so extreme at this point. They've gone so far to the point where they really don't care about appealing to most American voters. And that's definitely having an impact, because if you look at the polling, if you look at all the indicators, Republicans should be running away with this based on all those structural advantages that they've put in place over the last decade, going back especially to 2014. And they're not. Democrats are leading in the generic ballot polls, narrow margin, but leading. When you look at these key races, when you look at the Senate races in Georgia and Pennsylvania and Wisconsin and North Carolina, Ohio, even we're talking about now, Democrats legitimately can win all these races, but it's going to take really everything going exactly right. Whereas Republicans, their strategy isn't about, well, how do we appeal to swing voters? How do we get our base out? It's literally, how do we keep the other side from coming out? And that's, to state the obvious, problematic.
Yeah, that's sort of what I think I was listening to Weigel, and he was like that, Dave Weigel from the Washington Post, and he was like that the Democrats kind of have to bat perfectly, especially in the House, to keep the House. Senate might be even almost easier. I mean, even Mitch McConnell's like, our candidates suck. Like, he's like very open about how the Senate might be lost. I just don't want JD Vance in the fucking Senate. And I don't want any of them there. Like, definitely not Dr. Oz, but that dude's going to lose. Anyway, but let's talk about like one of those issues, right, that has been galvanizing Democrats. When it came down initially, the Dobbs ruling, we all got the text from Pelosi. I was like, you cynical bitch. And, I think that was the feeling for a little bit of time. And then we saw, basically the opposite happened, that people were like, no, they're fired up, especially women. And the registration of women voters, I know, has been huge. What have you seen in terms of registering women coming out to register to vote?
Yeah, it's pretty wild, just because we've gone through this era since Trump came on the scene 6-7 years ago, where we would see something crazy happen in the news, and I think we'd all look at it and say, well, this has to change things. People are going to look at this and say, we can't have any of that. Humans in cages, people are going to stand up, and then, there's outrage, but the voting doesn't change. And so I think to a certain extent with Dobbs, a lot of us were afraid that we were going to be seeing the same thing, that there'd be a lot of outrage. We'd look around, we'd say, who can save us? Is the White House going to do something? Is Congress going to do something?
No.
The difference here was a realization that in the end, it's going to be on the voters. And, I think everyone's aware of what happened in Kansas. You had that vote in early August in Kansas. It was handpicked by anti-choice Republicans to fail, to remove abortion protections from the state constitution. Yeah. No one was supposed to vote, and it was just, and the pro-choice vote, the no vote, actually wins by almost 20 points. And so we jump in, we look at, well, what happened there? Is this one example where finally something has changed? And 70% of the people who registered to vote in Kansas after the June 24th decision of Dobbs were women. It was 70-30 women, men. You don't see that. That doesn't happen anywhere. It's usually 50-50. If one group is really fired up, it might be, 53-47. It was 70-30. Women were coming out. And then when you look at the actual turnout of who voted, it's women, it's younger voters in general. It was Latino voters, of which there are not a lot in Kansas, but actually, believe it or not, more Latino voters voted in this election than almost any election other than the 2020 presidential election. Wow. More young people voted than have voted in any midterm election, than voted in the 2018 general election and in August election. So, when we talk about, is there hope? The hope is that this energy that we're seeing among women, younger voters, voters of color, it's awful that the reason that it exists, but if that energy can carry through over the next 7 weeks,
right,
then you're going to see a very competitive election, and Democrats do have a chance at holding on to the House.
Yeah, I mean, that younger voter thing is huge. In terms of you're seeing young people who are just going to college, and then their address is changed, and a lot of things are stacked against them anyway, and they're registering.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, we saw the same thing in 2018, which was the Parkland massacre happens. The March for Our Lives movement starts in, that was February. March for Our Lives, I think, was April. And then you saw the political establishment and the media sort of pat them on the head and say, that's cute, but young people don't vote in midterms. And, we started analyzing it, just like we've been looking at the voter registration with women and younger voters this cycle, and saw something similar, that, actually young people are actually fired up and they're registering to vote. We put an analysis out summer of 2018. Washington Post actually published a rebuttal to our analysis that effectively was the same head pat and saying that's cute, but young people don't vote in midterms. And we all know the story, right? Young people went from 7% of ballots cast in the 2014 midterms to almost 13% of ballots cast in the 2018 midterms. The blue wave doesn't happen if young people don't get out there and vote. And we're seeing even bigger numbers now with younger voters and women. So there is reason to be hopeful. But 7 weeks scares me.
Save us, young people, even though we tease you about being lazy. Please
even though
save us.
You really take TikTok too seriously, and I feel like you guys are the ones cooking chicken and NyQuil, because I saw that story and I was like, that's Gen Z.
Listen,
but
if they save us, I'll eat some NyQuil chicken.
That's a good night's sleep.
I'll eat a Tide Pod. I'll go lick the Bluebell ice cream, whatever TikTok food chaos you want me to do, I'll do it.
If you save us, I believe that if you survive a mass shooting, you get to vote automatically. Yeah. So that means elementary school kids in Uvalde get the vote.
Yeah,
that's just right there.
They wouldn't want that.
No, of course they wouldn't. But I just feel like that's my rule. No, I think that's good. And yet it's still going to be hard going in the House. But what other trends have you guys been? I know TargetSmart specifically kind of filling in these gaps that like you're saying, the narratives are young people don't vote. I mean, the shit that like, you know, eventually our parents will all regurgitate to us when it doesn't go, you know, the way of the Democrats generally. But what other, and TargetSmart kind of like finds those, the patterns that other people are missing. What other patterns do you feel like people are missing?
You know, my biggest gripe at this point is the polling that's out there. You know, y'all were griping about Georgia a little while ago, and I started off this morning doing so. There were polls out there. Front page of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution is this big spread, whole above the fold spread, talking about how Republicans are winning in all the statewide races, governor's race. Herschel Walker's winning. They have this new poll with the University of Georgia out. And it's this narrative, right, that they're driving this narrative that is only going to have the effect of depressing turnout from people. And so I look at that poll. Because I always want to know, like, well, what is this based on? I look at the poll, I look at the sample, I'm a nerd. And in the poll sample, they're predicting that Republicans are going to have a 9% larger share of the electorate than Democrats in Georgia. Okay. Even in 2014, when Republicans had a great year in Georgia, it was a 4-point advantage. So they've got this poll out there that says that Republicans are going to double turnout. So I start ranting about that on Twitter, as one does, into the void. And then another poll comes out, another Georgia poll that shows, again, Democrats are losing. And you see Democrats saying, God, we just can't win there. What's going to happen? Well, in that poll, 49% of their respondents in that poll are women. 49%. The lowest woman vote share in Georgia in the last decade has been 55%. So this is a poll saying that if after a Dobbs decision, when women have been robbed of their right to choose and make their own healthcare decisions, women are going to turn out at an all-time low. Sure, if that happens, yeah, I guess Republicans might be winning. And so you asked the sort of trends we're looking at. A lot of what we're looking at now is the polling that's out there.
Yeah.
And we're looking at these turnout trends, and we're trying to put them in context so people understand. I don't know who's going to turn out. I don't know exactly what percent of the vote women will make up in Georgia. I know it's not going to be 49%. I know it's not going to be an all-time low. I know that Republicans aren't going to have a 9-point advantage in Georgia. So we're trying to share that information, share some context so people can be a little bit better informed. And hopefully, you know, these media narratives don't drive turnout down because people look at it and say, well, we don't have a chance. I guess Herschel Walker is going to be our next senator.
This is why I don't trust polls. I haven't trusted a poll since 2016. That's it. I just swore off them altogether.
That's fair.
But I'm also like, who is answering these polls? Who is home at like 1 p.m. other than me streaming on a Tuesday, answering the phone, their landline? You know what I mean? Like, it's just all kinds.
I don't answer unknown numbers. Come on.
No one does. I teach a class at Howard University in campaigns. And I asked my students last week, we're covering Poland, and I asked them, I said, you know, how many of you have a landline? Of course, none of them have a landline phone. How many of you have a cell phone? Everyone. How many of you answer your phone when it rings and you don't know who it is? Nobody does. So it's problematic. There are some smart pollsters who are doing smart things and using texting and online surveys, but it's the sort of thing that you need to look at. And it's somewhat irresponsible of the media to report on these polls as if they're gospel truth or as if it's a sporting event. It's a football game. Herschel Walker's winning.
Yes.
Well, no, he's winning if you believe that's what turnout's going to look like in Georgia. And by the way, we should tell you turnout has never looked like this in Georgia. Maybe that's important context, but they leave that out.
Yeah. We're actually going to talk about Georgia next week on the show. So I'm curious about that. Cause it felt like Republicans and the media want us to think that 2020 was a fluke, right? Like it's never going to go that way again. And I don't know about that. I feel like, tell voters that their vote was a fluke and they might come out harder the next time. But that's why I just go with my gut on everything. No, not polls.
Very Trumpian.
just my gut. No, and then I do think that in terms of reproductive rights, Lindsey Graham is someone who is like, are you an op, bro? Like, are you working for the Democrats? Because your whole plan to like ban abortion on a national level feels like it's just gonna drive voter turnout.
I said the same thing last week because, Democrats, as we all know, have been talking about if you elect Republicans. I remember being at the LA convention in 2000 and having the West Wing cast coming up to us as we're walking out of the convention hall and telling us, you need to make this race about the Supreme Court and abortion. We got political advice from the cast of the West Wing. So it goes back before that, right? That Democrats have been talking about if you vote for Republicans, they're going to overturn Roe. And the fact of the matter is, we talked about it so much that people stopped believing it. They didn't think it would
Right.
happen. And then Dobbs happens and they see what's really happening. People say, oh, this is something that we really need to push back against. But you're right. Then Lindsey Graham comes along. Republicans were trying to back down for the last few weeks. They saw what happened in Kansas and they got scared.
Yeah.
And you see them all removing all the pro-life stuff from their websites. You see them, Dr. Oz suddenly is not so pro-life anymore.
Right.
And then Lindsey Graham comes along and he files this bill that says, yeah, national federal ban after 15 weeks. And you see all the other Republicans giving them the cut sign saying not now.
Yep. Yeah. And I guess anything else that we have like not been paying attention to, or things we should ignore.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably more that you should ignore than anything else. Like, stay, as much as I love Twitter for some things, probably, steer clear for a while. But, I think the other trend that's important to look at is looking at Latino voters, African-American voters, AAPI voters. They delivered, along with younger voters, the victories in 2000, especially in key states like Georgia, Nevada, Arizona.
Yes.
And a big question is, are these voters coming back? There've been a lot of stories out there saying, oh, they're trending Republican, and we're not seeing that in the data. API voters are actually registering at a higher Democratic rate than they were 2 years ago.
Fastest growing voter bloc.
Exactly. And so
I'm gestating one right now. I mean, she's going to be
probably not ready to vote by November, I'm guessing.
No, it's true. I'm trying.
I know a dog in Coffee County that could probably get that baby a voting card. Nice Labrador.
Ask for Rex. Yeah, no, exactly. And I think that, right. I mean, it's all to like build suspense, right? Which we should, let's agree. We should feel like, look, we don't want, the Democrats shouldn't lose the House. That would fucking suck. Herschel Walker and JD Vance should be nowhere near the Senate. The idea that there would be a national abortion ban is very, very real. But at the same time, we're kind of seeing that play out in a lot of states right now in terms of bans on abortion. So the reality is the same. The fight is the same. So anyway, yeah, Tom, anything else, Roy, you're curious about?
No, I think that he's kind of hit the nail on the head. It's very hard to poll young people. We can't even count fucking people in this country. Like every 8 years we go, hey, do you mind if we count you just so we can know how many motherfuckers? And people won't answer the phone. They won't answer the door. They don't trust the census. So I think it's always going to be difficult to get a true approximation of which way, particular voting blocks, are leaning. I will say, from the black side of the game, I do think that, there is a lot more indifference and voter apathy as far as I can tell, just in kind of, I'm no Nate Silver or anything like that, but just in the circles that I swim in, comparing 2016 to now, it's a lot more apathy and a lot more of holding Democrats, feet to the fire. And I don't know if it will be as much of a shoe-in of getting black people back to the polls as much as it was in 2016 or, post Black Lives Matter, going into 2020.
Yeah, especially since that was completely squandered as an issue. I mean, you could talk about student loan debt disproportionately, impacting like Black Americans. We could talk about the, climate bill, helping out communities of color in terms of environmental racism, but that's like niche within like nothing has really happened since the 2020 uprisings when it comes to like federal police reform. We can't get shit passed on that.
I mean, they're reversing body cam shit now. It's illegal to record the police in certain locales now. Well, wait. I thought y'all was supposed to be wearing the body cameras and turning them on. Yeah, we might. Okay, we'll record you just in case. Oh, you're under arrest. What the fuck? What?
Right. To say nothing of the vote, like also another thing that I think the Black community has, obviously, like historically cared about is voting rights. And that hasn't been enshrined yet. And so we're being told once again, okay, but next election, everyone's issues will be taken care of. We're going to do codify Roe. We're going to get voting rights. So
I think
TBD.
there is there is a contingency, and I'm not going to put this on the black demographic alone, but there is a contingency of voters in this country who are tired of broken promises, and they honestly do not care, and they would be happy on election day to kick back, relax, and stay at home and watch this bitch burn and not care.
Yes. And that is actually literally what Republicans want, is to watch women burn at the stake. That is they're like, that sounds
That's
good.
the 2020. That's 2024. That's not.
That's what they're going to run on. Witches are back. They're real. Yeah, and I think, Tom, we're seeing these weird plays, right? For, the stunts we were talking about, DeSantis and Greg Abbott. You feel like, and then this is again my wishful finger in the air thinking, is the switch between Republicans. Well, I think you guys had a study about that. Was it 8% of Republicans voting Democrat in 2020?
That's right.
Something along those lines. Is that going to continue to happen? What happens if more Republicans start voting Democrat? And are these political stunts maybe actually backfiring?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because Republicans have lost so many of who used to be their core voters. And they talked about suburban, better educated voters, especially women who were, they were fiscally conservative, culturally middle of the road. Trump comes along and those voters leave the party in droves. And Republicans recognized after 2000 that, well, maybe Trump's gone from the scene now and we need to make an effort to win those voters back. And that lasted about 30 seconds until people, DeSantis came along and realized, well, if I want to be the next Trump, I need to take it and turn it up a notch. Right. And the fascinating thing is, Republicans thought this would be another election where they could make a culture war election. They're doing their damnedest to make that true. We remember in 2000, the socialism stuff, the stuff where they talk about defund as if
2020, right? You saying 2000, I'm
God,
getting triggered.
I do that all the time. I literally all the time. I wind everything back 20 years. In 2020, they tried to make it about socialism, about defund, about scary BLMs going to come to your town, and they were successful. And part of that was because Democrats accepted that, didn't stand up and say that's nonsense. The fact of the matter is, without BLM organizing when no one else was out organizing, Democrats won't win. And so,
yes, sorry, what you just said, we have to fucking underscore that the BLM movement did not take away from anything. It helped Biden. So Biden's out here saying, no, we want to fund the police out there. They gave you that win, motherfucker. You were in a basement, bro. They were out. People were out on the streets.
The number that stands out to me is if you look at the exit polls from the Georgia election, Democrats, where Joe Biden wins by 11,000 votes and where 2 Democrats are elected to the Senate there and give Democrats control of the Senate. You look at, in the exit polls, they asked about the opinion of Black Lives Matter. And the majority of Georgia voters said they had a favorable opinion of Black Lives Matter. That doesn't happen without the organizing that was happening in Atlanta, but around the country and around the state. And then Democrats, after, a lot of Democrats look at it and say, well, defund really cost us a lot of seats. Well,
because they're trying to ride the line. Basically, how many votes do you gain by saying yay police versus how many votes do you gain by saying boo police?
Right.
And that's what it boils down to. And Biden clearly is betting on the centrist Republicans going, oh, well, he said law enforcement. Okay, well, maybe I should tiptoe back. Stacey Abrams said something along those same lines and pissed a lot of people off. So it's definitely this idea where if you're Stacey Abrams and you're trying to beat Kemp and you're trying to beat fucking illegal voting fuck shit as well, hey, the police are good. Vote for me. And then you get in office and then you go, trick you, bitch. Time to defund. But she can't put all of that out there. So, what I'm saying is I feel like some of the pro-police sentiment from Democrats is positioning for the sake of votes on the bet that the people who want to defund will still vote for you because they ain't got no better choice. And those are the people that I think are going to sit back this year. They're on election day. They're going to order some Grubhub and they're going to sit at their house and they ain't going nowhere. and they're gonna watch Don Lemon and whoever. Well, it'll be who's the one in the khakis on MSNBC touching all the screens.
Kornacki.
There you go. They're gonna kick back and watch him and crack jokes and never leave the house.
I have a theory that Kornacki's a secret lefty. That's my theory on him. I think he's like cool as shit, but that's just he's not allowed. They don't let him out of the polling lane.
No.
But that's a really good point. Exactly, and it's I think like people of color and also young people are always blamed for a lack of. Like if a Democrat
when
loses,
Democrats lose,
when Democrats lose,
when
like,
Democrats win, it's white swing voters who delivered the win.
Right.
When Democrats lose, it's voters of color stayed home. But I think when you're talking about the flights, the migrant flights, and what they're doing, I mean to say it's a stunt is to state the obvious. But I think Republicans were panicking to a certain point where this election, they're not in control of the narrative right now. It is about Dobbs. It's about choice. There's 7 weeks left. And so they're looking at this and saying, how do we steal it back, put it on? How do we start running the ball instead of defending? And the way they do that is start doing crazy things that everyone will start talking about in the media. And it's hard. I don't know how you don't talk about it. You have to talk about it because they're humans being used as pawns.
Right.
But it's challenging. They're trying to change the narrative to something that they believe will fire up their voters. And they're good at it. Republicans are good at it because they will go and do the things that Democrats never would.
Right. Tom Bonier, thank you so much for joining us. Everybody follow Tom on Twitter and also just check out TargetSmart Insights, targetsmart.com, targetsmart.com. Tom, thank you so much. Thanks for your clarity and for both. I think it's good, to temper our expectation, to not follow sort of the mainstream lines around a lot of this stuff, but then also to know that turnout will be important and things could be looking good for Dems and for democracy, we hope. All right. Take good care. Talk to you soon. Roy, you're not going anywhere because I got one more segment for you.
All right.
I don't know if you know this, but we have a tradition on this show. It's an awards ceremony, really.
All right.
It's called the Cringeys. And I don't know do we have an interstitial for the Cringeys? We're going to have to cut this out. Donde está? I'm trying to find it.
Just got to freestyle something,
No, we'll get into freestyling. All right, we'll add it later. Here we go. See, I told you it wasn't in there. This is the 3 worst moments in politics on the internet, captured in video form, known as the Cringeys. Yeah, there it is. And our first contestant is Marjorie Taylor Greene comparing flights of the future that run on electricity to, that's right, slave ships.
Air Canada, get this, has ordered 30 electric airplanes. Yeah, electric airplanes. So we were joking around and we were talking, how is there an electric airplane and what does that look like? So we were just making fun and thinking about, remember back a long time ago and you've seen movies where people in those slave ships and they're down there and they're rowing and they're being whipped to row? We're saying, how are they going to keep powering these electric airplanes? What are they going to have? It's like a spin class in a tube where they've got everybody riding spin cycles, and then those mean, nasty airline stewardess that force you to wear masks all the time on the planes back when we were forced to wear masks. Are they going to be forcing you to keep spinning to keep the airplane in the air?
What if Peloton was just a scam to get people to make electricity for free?
That would be great. I would love that.
That's my conspiracy theory. Spread that one around the internet chat. She's a special one.
She's special. She did the classic thing where like as comics, when a bit isn't quite developed and it definitely is falling flat, you pivot to a different metaphor. So she was like, like back first of all, she believes history, like the history of slavery, is like you see in the movies when someone's been whipped, like, oh, that's cute.
I mean,
This is
I know that
fake.
she said slave ship, then she said row, and then in the back of my head, I'm like, well, that's not the slave ship. I was thinking about, you talking about them Roman, you talking about that Judah Ben-Hur. You talking about some of that Mediterranean ship. Okay, you talking about Mediterranean slavery. See, I thought you was talking transatlantic slave. See, you got to be more specific with the setup. Like, that's the comic in me is like, no, you're not enough information. You got to give the right.
But then she pivots to being like, I mean, is it going to be like a spin class? And then the mean airline stewardesses, which is amazing that, again, Republicans will put the oppression of having to wear a mask in the same sentence as like talking about slavery, and just like, how. So that's our number one.
Okay.
Number two, Herschel Walker, in preparation for his debate with Senator Raphael Warnock, just setting everyone up for maybe.
When is that debate? Motherfucker, I'm live tweeting.
I'm super excited too. I don't even know. I know that Fetterman and Oz is sometime early October. I assume it's early. Maybe Chad can help us out with that. Yeah. Or Paige behind the scenes, let us know when that is. But here's what he's saying. He's
October 14th. Thank you, Chad.
Thank you. In case you didn't know, just if he doesn't do well, Herschel wants you to know he's not that smart.
So I'm preparing. I'm this country boy. I'm not that smart. And he's that preacher. He's a smart man, wear these nice suits. So he's going to show up and embarrass me at the debate October the 14th. And I'm just waiting. I'll show up and I'm going to do my best.
Motherfucker pulled an 8 Mile. I am dumb. I do live in a trailer with my mom. Raphael Warnock is a preacher, and he did have sex with Cheddar Bob and shot him in his leg. It's a smart move. Smart move, Hirsch.
He remembered the date, though. October 14th. He said it right there. So
God, I've never heard a football player who sounds like an ex-boxer before. With respect to ex-boxers.
Yeah, Herschel, here, I've defended Herschel Walker in just the fact that I think he actually sounds more like Trump than anyone, because it's like, strung together phrases and little brain droppings that you kind of like, you take like a step back, very like speaks like a Monet painting, like, all right, like I get it on a grand scheme, but what individually you're not making any sense. So I defend him by saying Trump speaks the same way. But
Warnock has to switch his fighting style, because I'm being legitimately serious. What Herschel is doing right now is dressing down intelligence and what civility actually looks like. And he got this little shiny suit and that's just positioning us versus him, and Warnock looking like the establishment, which Warnock, as it plays right now, plays right into that. He is eloquent. He does know policy. He does dress sharp. He is out there in the streets with the people. Warnock need to show up. This is like Rocky 3, when when Clubber Lang beat the shit out of Rocky, and he had to go train with Apollo Creed and learn a different fighting style. Warnock has to change his style against Herschel Walker. He has to wear overalls. He has to talk in sentence fragments. And I'm just
actually chewing some wheat.
They already think we all look alike. Warnock, fucking dress like Herschel. Put on a fucking blazer from Men's Warehouse with an Under Armour shirt.
This is going to be like the final scene in Grease, R.I.P. Olivia Newton-John, where they each come to the final and they're like dressing the way they think the other person wants them to. And then they're just going to sing together.
He's got to fight Southpaw on Herschel. Like, you cannot beat this man with policy. The people who support Herschel Walker, you think they give a fuck about your 3-point plan to bring back the economic downturn and to close the wealth gap? They don't know about that. Just say you're a country boy. You show love Waffle House, man. I can just tell y'all what, man. Y'all vote me in there.
So really though, because
Wear a
Warnock
shirt
does
like
have.
this, some fucking flannel.
You look. That's very nice. That's like a nice flannel. That's
Yeah,
like
this is
you.
almost too nice. You need to wear Carhartt. Yeah, you need to wear some tractor wear.
That's like you made a quilt of a bunch of hipsters. Like you beat them up for their shirts, and then you stitch together your earnings into your own shirt. But yeah, it's true that you're like, I think Warnock is incredibly like well-spoken. He's got a good, he like actually believes in working class values, like wants to help people. And but how do you beat Herschel when Herschel is so dumb? I don't like, what do you say? Because you can't also make fun of him because it feels like punching down, right? And also the dude's been hit way too many times. Like, it's not fair.
The only thing that beats crazy is crazy. You cannot reason.
He's got to huff a little bit of glue before he goes in there.
I really feel like trick them into thinking you're stupid. It's the smartest thing you can do. I'm still not completely convinced that Donald Trump is stupid. He does a lot of stupid stuff, but I don't, how much of that is strategy? And I just think that Warnock has spent so much time trying to appease the Democratic voter when at the end of the day in Georgia, the tiebreaker is all them red counties that surround Atlanta.
Right.
So, just for the debate. Just now, of course, the regular Democrats gonna be like, "What are you doing?" And just be like, "Just chill out. Just go watch Rocky 3, and you'll know what I'm doing." Like, but hey, I don't know if this debate makes me nervous because it's an opportunity to give Herschel fuel to just tear down Warnock more. See how you use them big words? See, that's what them politicians do. They try to confuse us using big words.
Democracy.
Like
what does that even mean?
Exactly.
Constitution. Oh, Constitution. That's 4 syllables. Oh, you a tough guy.
Yo, if he's not careful, he's gonna fall right into this. Because Herschel might be dumb, but I bet you the people on his campaign committee ain't.
Please watch live and do a stream on it. I would love to see your commentary,
I'm going to talk to Trevor about that because that
would be so
that might be the live stream of the ages.
Absolutely. All right, there is one more cringy that we're potentially giving out. This is Linda Paulson of Utah running for Senate. It is almost a minute long, but I think it's worth it, and you gotta just watch.
Utah District 12, listen up right here. There's a new name on the ballot for the Senate this year. My name is Linda Paulson, Republican and awesome. Love God and family and the Constitution. I tried to get another conservative to run. Nobody could do it, so I'm getting it done. I'm pro-religious freedom, pro-life, pro-police, the right to bear arms and the right to free speech. I want less government control and regulation, want to stop and expose all political corruption where there's integrity, morality, accountability. Government programs should lead to self-sufficiency and support traditional family as the fundamental unit of society. But in schools, they're pushing for new beliefs. And just to clarify this, because there's some who can't define this, as a female adult, I know what a woman is.
Okay, that's my only problem with this clip. And just to clarify this, because there's some people who can't define this. Shot of Ketanji Brown Jackson, Justice Brown Jackson. But I know what a woman is. No, the rhyme is, you can't clarify. In case you want to clarify this, some people can't define this, but I know what a vagina is. That is the fucking rhyme. I'm sorry. Was that supposed to be a misdirection? But I know what a vagina is. Say it.
And I have to pick between these three of which one is the most cringeworthy.
Yes.
It's not the rap.
Oh.
The rap is bad, but that's for people who don't listen to rap, so it's harmless. I gotta go slave ship. I gotta go Rowan Ben-Hur slave ship versus transatlantic slave ship. I gotta go Marjorie Taylor. That one makes me cringe. Herschel makes me laugh,
Mm,
but I laugh at Herschel in the way we laughed at Trump during the primaries, like when Mike Huckabee was the front runner.
right.
And I laugh like that at Herschel, which makes me nervous that maybe I should stop laughing.
Well, Mike Huckabee didn't really end up anywhere other than,
What?
you know,
Yeah.
Newsmax, Fox for a little bit.
Listen, Mike Huckabee has a great late night show. He puts on a lot of my comedian friends and gives them the opportunities to do their jokes to millions. So I'll say that about Mike Huckabee. He's supporting
He's
stand-up.
an employer. Yeah. He's a job creator.
Listen, I'm trying to say something nice, and let's change the subject.
So okay, yeah, I think Marjorie for sure.
Yeah.
She's got to take a tour like this. Remember how after the Jewish space laser, she had to go to the Holocaust Museum, and she was like, "Now I understand. Hitler was not a good guy, even though he had interesting ideas." Like that's like what. Now what she got to do? She's got to tour the Civil Rights Museum.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, for all of the critical race theory battles that are going on, I'm sure they would just disavow half the stuff that's in the museum anyway, even though there's actual fucking footage of it happening. Yeah, I don't know what the punishment is for this, but I mean, she's gonna keep getting more and more sensational. That one makes me cringe the most because it was a stand-up set that was all over the place. I don't know if you guys remember the slave ships and the thing and the people, they got electric planes and the planes are electric. I'm like, are you gonna be like people inside the plane rowing? It's like, come on.
What do you make of? Okay, so I say she gets the cringy for sure. We can give her the cringy, but that point of yours, this is a stand-up set. I think that's a really interesting point because I've made the comment that like Trump, I mean, it really is just like he should just be a comic doing, fucking edgelord, whatever racist humor. And the same thing you see Lauren Boebert and her whole Ilhan Omar shtick making fun of her for like, at least she didn't have a bomb or whatever it was. Like her backpack wasn't that big or something like this. Like it's all stuff I've seen at like some of the worst hack comics, like the worst open mics also, or just like, that's all
kills. It kills with that audience.
It does.
Kills. I'm telling you, man, Republicans know their audience and they know how to please them. They know how to get them out. Democrats ain't throwing rallies like that out in the forest. What Democrat just show up at a fucking shed somewhere out in the middle of a shed that seats 3,000, oddly.
But also yeah. Who books this barn? No, that's the other thing about like Fetterman, right? People love Fetterman, but the thing that he's doing is he's just kind of doing Republican playbook tactics, like trying to dunk on his opponent using jokes, making fun of how he said like whatever Wegmans or Wegners or whatever the hell grocery store he didn't Dr. Oz didn't get right. Yeah. And like making fun of the crude take, which is a great strategy. But Democrats are always like you're saying, we're like, okay, you rise above, you talk about your plan. You obviously, don't really go for like the low hanging fruit. And, I think you do have to go for the low hanging. I think you do have to like get some zingers in there, like stick the landing a little bit more, like work on the jokes, punch your shit up. And when it happens, everyone gets to their feet and they're like, oh my God, like, when Beto O'Rourke like told that dude that he's like, it's serious to me, motherfucker. Everyone was like, whoa.
Here's what politics boils down to in this country. And I'll end on this.
Yeah.
There's more dumb people than smart people in this country.
Damn it.
Which kind of politician are you going to be to lure that contingency to the polls? You can't get both.
Right. Absolutely.
So which one? Are you a politician from a dumb state? All right, you should probably work on getting unless you can get all of the smart people, you should just get some of the apathetic people and most of the dummies, and the smart people have no choice but to come along. That's really what most politics boils down to. It's just, I'm going for the dummies, I'm going for the smart ones, All right, let's see who wins on election day.
Exactly. No, it's
Sorry. I
it's a
wish I had
good
a better
point.
ender for you, but that's
No,
really
I think that's
what it is.
very true. And I think like Republicans prove that every day. They think their base is dumb as rocks and they love it. They celebrate it.
Yeah.
Roy Wood Jr., thank you so much for taking the time. You're wonderful.
Thank you, friend.
Everybody watch. Now I'm forgetting the name of your movie.
Yeah,
No.
it doesn't matter. It's Confess Fletch, theaters and
Yeah.
on demand. Daily show, of course, 11 o'clock. And I will see you soon. I hope to see you around midterms somewhere, wherever you're going to be posted up and chilling. You let me
I'm
know.
going to be pushing a baby out of my body.
Oh, this baby's coming soon. Okay.
No, this baby's coming in like a month.
Oh, I thought you had like a second trimester baby, but your baby's like
No,
rounding third and getting ready to slide out and slide it. You get what I'm saying.
I hope it's a slide. I truly hope it's a slide. But I don't think it's gonna be that. It's gonna be like whatever it is where you're caught between two bases, you know, and you're just like, tag. Yeah, no, I know. I mean, I'll be around. I'll be around. Yeah. Roy. Yeah, we've only met once in person, way back when, Politicon, and it was good.
Politicon or was it Cleveland RNC? Which one was it?
Oh shit! It might have been.
It was definitely a sea of Republicans wherever we were.
It was a sea of Republicans, and we were talking about reclaiming our time.
Yeah.
And it was
maybe that's Politicon. Yeah.
I think it was Politicon, that circus. RNC.
Yeah. Well, good to see you again. Thank you for the invitation. I wish I could stay for the Patreon part, but I can't. I gotta go be a father now.
That's okay. Go be a dad. Well, I can handle it. Everybody, you got free Roy Wood Jr. content, so come on over to the Patreon. All right, take good care, man. And thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for sticking around. For being wonderful. A few comments I wanted to read out. Monica G, freaking G, you got Roy Wood Jr. on the show. That's awesome. Yeah, you know it. And then just some love for Roy. Roy Wood Jr. is awesome. Then Roy Wood Jr. official, weirdly, saying voter apathy is what they need to be polling. I wonder when the official Roy Wood Jr. account had time to comment that. That's strange considering he was just here. Weird. In all kinds of places. Hunger Games 1989. Roy Wood Jr. is awesome. Indeed. Hef on YouTube. This is about Herschel Walker. Herschel Gump, vote for me. Sorry, I'll ruin your roommate's bathrobe. If you're going to quote Forrest Gump on this in this chat, I will read it live. Know that. Always know that. Thomas Sears saying, we're not going full-on Southern Preacher mode. Could override the football hero in a flash. That's true. That is also very captivating. Brandy Rubel, happy to be here, Fran. Lovely early birthday present for me, turning big 5-0 tomorrow. Oh, hell yeah. Happy early birthday. Thank you so much for your super chat. And let's see. Mike Boy Rap says, my stomach should be called Coffee County. Wow. Hal Wasserman, no need to show us the rapping woman from Utah. Too bad. I did. Ken M, thank you so much for that super chat. You're super generous. I appreciate it. Dank Dragon, if she doesn't make a joke about having Bonier with Wood, I'll be disappointed. It's Bonier, okay? It's not Bonier, even though I do want to say Bonier. Yes, I did have two people whose last names sound like a hard-on. Laser Sword, as a mother of 5, I would love to see the baby bump just once. Congratulations. All right, you guys ready for this baby bump? You guys want to see this baby bump? It's going to be clothed, but here's only because I got gas. I got to stand up. Da, 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 da. Woo. Is there anything you'd like to say? Yes, let me out. It is on swole, especially today. And I'm wearing black, and these are a little tight, but if you want more baby bump content, patreon.com/bitchuation room. For those of you who are listening, just imagine that I'm 8 months pregnant because I am. And thank you, everybody. Well, let's get to you know what. In fact, there's not very many $10 patrons, so maybe that could be you. If you're a $10 patron, you get a shout out on the fart song. Here we go. Cool. Thank you so much to the Twitch subs, because that's all I've got. Punch Up Dragon, Squirrely Coney, Progressive Carpenter, Empire 6, Smatty's Matt, and Blitz those. And then let's see what I got going today. Hang on. I thought I had my Twitch people open, but thank you to everyone on Twitch for subscribing, for your bits, for your cheers. I appreciate it. I apologize. I thought I had my window open, but Mercury's in retrograde, and I blame the stars and the moons and the cycles. Guys, in the bonus, I want to talk about this Illinois purge law. We're going to talk a little bit about it and why it is a first step in police reform. Super important. If you live there, if you just care about the issue, join me over there real soon. And next week, we're going to be talking even more about Georgia voting in advent of the midterms. And once again, thanks to everyone who works on this show, to Paige Oamek, to Maximillien Inhoff, to Alexandra Ornes, and to Andy Vasoyan. We stream every Tuesday, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, on YouTube and Twitch. Follow the show at Bitchuation Pod on Twitter, at Franny Fio on TikTok and YouTube. And remember, y'all, fight the power, fuck the patriarchy, and don't just bitch about it, be about it. Later.